Hickok 45 here. Welcome to the Hickok 45 Talks channel. Yes, different channel, but it's still me. Glad you're here. Yeah, I'm a draft dodger. Although this would be fun to talk about. I might have talked about in a Sunday shoot around. I've talked about it somewhere. I don't know, shooting the breeze. Done a lot of talking, but it's a new age with the Hickok 45 Talks. Where I'm just talking about one thing. I may bring back anything I've ever talked about, really. And maybe I have different thoughts on it. Maybe I'm more brilliant now on that particular topic. Yeah. Anyway, John and I get a kick out of it if we see, and about once, of course now you guys will have fun with me and you'll leave a lot of them, but about once, I don't know, maybe a year, uh, or every 6 months, I don't know, I'll see a comment about my being a draft dodger. And, what? You know, where's this come from? And there's one of the things that I do. There's nothing, hardly anything lower than a poser, somebody who pretends to have military experience that doesn't, or they're exaggerating their military experience, whatever it might be. I agree with these. I don't know. I can't think of the names. There's a couple of people that they've devoted their lives. They're veterans. They've devoted, I think Navy SEALs maybe. They've devoted their lives to outing these people. Their videos. I haven't seen them in a long time, but they're probably still doing that, outing people who pretend to be Navy SEAL or whatever it is, some operator, But anyway, so I mean, oh man, that is worse than pathetic, isn't it? I mean, really, get a life. Don't create some fictional life for yourself. I mean, if you're doing a movie, that's one thing, but acting like you're some former operator or you're a Navy SEAL and you're not. But anyway, I digress. I and I don't know. I've yacked a lot, of course, about my early years and in various venues, and everybody knows my age. I was in the Vietnam era. I was I was of age, of course, and I was in college. I in 1968 when I graduated high school. I was, while there were people, being shipped off to Vietnam, of course, drafted or volunteering, mostly drafted, and coming back in body bags and those sorts of things. We didn't have the 24/7 news cycle. I was busy and I was practicing basketball every night, was involved in that, working hopefully towards a basketball scholarship, and everything. I didn't even see the news probably 2 minutes a week. So it's so different from now. I couldn't even have told you where Vietnam was, and a lot of people couldn't, and definitely why we were over there and all that sort of thing. But I think that, I don't know, I didn't go to college to avoid going to Vietnam. I was trying to get a basketball scholarship. I wanted to continue playing basketball and and get a college degree. I wasn't as serious about it until I got into college in terms of the academics. And once I got there and found a major I enjoyed, I got way more serious about that and everything. I mean, it all worked out really great. But that was all right in the middle of Vietnam going on, of course. But I don't know where people get the draft dodger business. I guess it's a hyperbole because I didn't go. And the only reason I find some humor in that, and someone saying that, is I guess in most cases they just figure out that, well, I wasn't there, but I'm the correct age to be there. I mean, I guess, why wasn't I? Maybe partly because I shoot a lot, and you got to shoot military guns, and they say, well, he can hit anything with that gun. Why wasn't he in Vietnam? I don't know what it grows out of. Or occasionally maybe it's a vet that was over there, and they want to hate on me for not having gone. I don't know exactly. but it does. It pops up about once every few months, and it's just it's just a strange comment. The reason it's so strange, and a lot of people don't really wouldn't understand if you're younger. Uh, the reason it makes no sense to most people is in the late 60s and early 70s, and in Vietnam going on, it was so unlike like 9/11 and the war in Iraq and all those kinds of things. It was it was so unlike that. Uh, nobody nobody was interested in going to Vietnam. Like, we were not attacked. There was nothing going on that made you think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to Vietnam. I'm gonna get me some commies. They're about to take us over, or they blew up Omaha, or what. There was just none of that sentiment." And it was more of a case where, and maybe we were all just a little bit more clueless. Like I say, there was no 24-hour news cycle, and you rarely even saw the 30-minute news if you were a school kid, and it would be like, I don't know what a comparison would be. I don't know. We're all more aware of what's going on in the world these days. But like, if we've got some action going on, the United States does, and in some other country, and we see an article about it every now and then, and we're not sure what it involves, and it just wouldn't affect us necessarily. Now, the people that are there, it would. It could be people exchanging gunfire and everything else. But Vietnam, as bad as it was, it just, I don't know. I was busy, doing things, and it wasn't, there was no drive to save the country, right? There was no drive to save the country. I wasn't one of these anti-war people or anything like that. I didn't know enough about it and why the heck we were there, what's going on over there, and why are we there, where is it? It was more of that kind of when I was in high school. As I got into college, I was still, of course, incredibly busy, but a little more aware, because there'd be guys coming back, and then they would get into college. There was a guy on our basketball team that had been over there. He'd been shot in the rear end, I remember, and then, of course, there were a couple of guys from high school that were killed, classmates. So as that news came trickling back and everything, it was like, wow, it became more real, but it still wasn't some situation where there was this strong drive. Well, I need to go fight for my country and save my country over there. So it was just at different times. The things that have come about in the last, couple of decades, 9/11, and even before 9/11, where you have an all-volunteer, army. It's just a different attitude about the service, which is great to see, and it still doesn't mean everywhere we go and take guns that we should be there, right? But yeah, anyway, a draft dodger, I guess the strict definition of a draft dodger is somebody who was drafted and they just were not going to go to war, and so they went to Canada. There were people who did that, or whatever they did to avoid going, right? So I never really did any of that. So I'm, in the purest sense, I'm not a draft dodger. I would have gone, in fact, when was it? About my second year in school. Yeah, it had to be before 73, 71 or 72. I know the previous winter, I was trying, playing basketball and taking a full load of classes and having to write research papers. I was an English major, everything. And I thought, man, I got to avoid that next fall if I can, or in the winter. And I taken so many credits. I was going to take a little bit lighter load, I think 12 hours instead of 15 or something, during basketball season, especially traveling. But I didn't want to get jerked out of school and sent to Vietnam. At that point, I realized that could happen. And I was in the middle of my basketball career, my English major, and all that kind of stuff. And again, Vietnam was not a big magnet. And so I volunteered for my physical. I thought, in fact, I was feeling not guilty, but I remember at the time, like war, we all grew up seeing the movies and have, I don't know, fantasies, and all that sort of thing in our heads. But I remember just a piece of me regretted not being over there or not going, not having that experience. And I remember I volunteered to go get my physical so that I'd know what my classification was. I was student classified as a student already, and I knew everybody was telling me that in fact I was 6'8", plus I'm like a quarter inch over 6'8" or something, that that I'd be classified whatever it was. I forget now. Another classification would probably keep me out anyway. And I thought, well, let me volunteer for my physical, and that way I'll know maybe whether I could take a chance and just take a lighter load that winter. And I did. I remember going back home, got on a bus with about 30 other guys up at the bus stop in Florence, Kentucky, and went down. Guess it was in Covington and Kentucky, and went through all the physical with them and everything. But sure enough, when they got to the part where they measured me, the guy, I remember he got really frustrated because it pulled I think it just went to like 6'8" or something, or almost 6'8", and the measurement, I was on a scale, and it came out, and he got frustrated. He said, go there and sit, whatever. So I actually did. I qualified for that other classification. That wasn't 2S was being a student, I think. I forget what the other one was. And I had a high draft lottery number, pretty high, 251 or something like that. But I wanted to make sure before I just took 12 hours and that winter, and so I got that classification and everywhere. Anyway, I just remember all that. But I never had this, that kind of beside the point, but I remember when I was getting my physical, it brought it closer to home, of course, because going down there, I don't know if anybody knew I had volunteered for my physical, and they had all been drafted, I guess. But I didn't have this deathly fear of being with them or even going over there. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. I just, like everybody else, feel like, well, I'll survive it if I go, and it's got to be an incredible experience. I don't know. I was young, dumb, ignorant, I guess. I don't know, but that was just kind of the way it was. There was not and I guess that's what a lot of people that are under 40 or 50 may not fully grasp about those times. And I'm not talking for 15 minutes to justify why I didn't go fight Vietnam. It's just an interesting topic, I think, to maybe acquaint people a little bit more or familiarize people with the differences. It was just nothing like early 2000s and all volunteer army and Iraq, any of that. It just was nothing like that. It was basically, it was hard to find somebody that thought, yeah, we ought to be over there. It just really was. Maybe some older guy that had been fighting commies his whole life, or something. Because I probably would have, if it had been something like that, even if it didn't make a lot of sense maybe for us to be there, I might have been, persuaded pretty easily, because I wasn't averse to it enough, probably. If I hadn't been involved in so much, in school and basketball, and I had hopes of playing in the NBA and all that, so I really just didn't really think much about Vietnam. Again, it wasn't like they had bombed Los Angeles or flown planes into towers or anything. So anyway, a draft dodger is when you get drafted and you leave the country or something to avoid doing it, or you burn your draft card, your papers, or whatever. And I didn't ever do that. I was just busy. Sorry, guess I'm not patriotic, So I think sometimes when I see that comment, and again, it's very infrequent, but it's such a dramatic thing. It's like, well, it's not like that. I'm sorry to say, it's like calling somebody a child molester or something. What? Where'd you get that? It's such a weird thing to pull out of the air, a draft dodger. Oh, really? Draft dodger. So let me go to Walmart or some mall, and anybody who looks like they're about my age, I'll ask them if they were in Vietnam if they went to Vietnam, and if they did not, you draft dodger. So anyway, that's enough about that. It's probably of no interest to you, but I don't know. I just had a note about it. Thought I'd talk about it. Life is good.